So, any other interesting events in your folks' lives recently?
Well, actually, Rick, this is Brenda again. So I'm trying to figure out my camera, but so I was in I think I wrote to you, Santiago de Compostela. And I was sailing around Spain and Portugal during Hurricane Kirk. So and the day I went to Compostela, it was so rainy. But anyway, while I didn't walk any of the El Camino, I got to see all the pilgrims coming in from the El Camino. So it was just really special to get to see everybody come in. So I kind of have a feeling of what you might have experienced. It was incredible. So, but looks like we may have even been there on the same day, even. So who knows? Or our ships crossed in the night. So
On the first day of walking, I ran into a guy named Bill, and he had been walking. He started from St. John in France. He had been walking with a friend. His friend was not walking that day. He needed a break. Anyway, so as we talked, Bill said he was staying in the hotels, and I told him that he was missing the best part of the Camino because you walk alone, you go or with his friend, he goes into a hotel at night. He's not having the connections with all the other walkers that's the fun part of the trip. And he was complaining about the trail. It wasn't the kind he was expected, blah, blah, blah. And I never saw him again. I don't know whether I just outwalked him or whether he was waiting for his friend or whatever, but I suspect he quit. It just wasn't his cup of tea, it sounded like. So it's there are some very cute towns. There are some that you think were hit by a neutron bomb that kills people but leaves the building standing. You'd go through little towns, you'd not see a person moving. It's just amazing. You wonder, are all these buildings empty, or do they just leave in the morning and go someplace else, or what? But some really cute towns and little towns, and then obviously some fancy cathedrals in some of the bigger cities like Leon and Burgos and Santiago. So. But I didn't go there for the religious experience. I went for the camaraderie and the physical challenge. So now my goal is to really work really hard. I have no travel plans from now until the Brazil trip. And so that'll give me at least 4 months solid training for the National Senior Games. I qualified this year in the Minnesota Senior Games to compete in the National Senior Games in Des Moines next July. In the 5K run, the 10K run, and the 40-kilometer bicycle race. So
wow.
I gotta push hard to be ready for that. So we'll see. Anybody else have any good news or any news?
Lynn and I are headed to Italy, Naples in January for about a 10-day trip, so we're going to do that. So hopefully.
It would make a side trip to Pompeii.
Who knows? I've never been to Italy, so it'll be an interesting trip for me.
Yeah.
So
Go while there. Go see Pompeii. It's interesting how big it was so long ago, and and the way it was engineered, including flowing water and so forth. So,
look forward to it. Look forward to it. Yeah.
That's worth going to.
Yes.
But just south of there, and that southern Italy is someplace that a lot of people rave about as being more authentic Italy. And so, you might enjoy that. Not something other than a tourist stop, or excuse me, a cruise stop to go see Pompeii. So you'll see some things and have some stories to tell that I haven't a chance to.
Yeah. Look forward to it. Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Rick.
Howdy. What's new there?
Yeah, I'm double duty. I'm handing out chocolate bars for little kids coming to my door for some strange reason.
For those of you who can't see, that's Bob Freed. So,
They call it Halloween. I put
yeah.
on my costume. I thought it would be scary to put on a rugby shirt with red and white. It could be a lot of things
See,
in
those are fighting colors in Minnesota.
Right, I agree. Scary for the kids, right?
Yeah. Well, the news that I've got, let's cover the business real quickly. Then if we have other people have anything else to share, it's great. With us tonight, we do have Melanie Schneider. She is our most recent sign up. I made an exception for the maximum of 13 in guests traveling, so she could travel with her friend Nancy Paddingford. But she is going to take care of the luggage in the back row. So hopefully that will be comfortable enough for her. If we can strap the pack or the luggage well enough, it should work. But I told her it's at her risk. So we'll see. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you. Yes, it's going to be me and the luggage back there. But I'm sure we'll be able to work something out. I'm going to travel light. That's what I decided.
I think everybody should travel light because when we're moving, you don't really want a whole lot of luggage.
Right.
And so you're able to move in and out very, very easily. And if you plan for layers, you don't need to take a whole lot. You just put more layers on if you need something warmer rather than something heavy. So and it should be warm enough. The only real factor is in the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. It can be showery. For those people who are traveling south from Tallinn, it may run into a little bit more rain than people traveling north. But in the years past, we've done this. This never stopped us from doing anything. So a rain jacket or a poncho is probably better than an umbrella, particularly if you end up at some places with crowds. Umbrellas just don't work too well in crowds. The other news, I put it in the email. So Mia ended up getting an internship offer that was just too good for her to refuse, and so she checked to see if she could get off to be the assistant tour guide, and was told no. So she will not be able to join us, which I'm sad about that because you would have loved her. But I met another young woman, a week and a half ago or so. She is from Ukraine, but she is now in the United States as a student. And she was impressive enough that that she may be able to join us. The problem is she's in her legal status is a temporary protected status. And she's checking with her attorney to see whether she could actually leave the United States and then come back. Leaving is easy enough, but coming back may be a problem. So we cannot risk her status. So,
Right.
I met her participating in a program called Green Card Voices. It's an effort to humanize immigrants and people who are on green cards, so that people just aren't those nasty rapists or people released from prisons and so forth that you hear in the TV ads. And so this has been going on for a while. There have been a number of other nationalities that have already been dealt with in this program, and I'm involved in an advisory council for Ukrainians, working out of the Ukrainian American Community Center in Minneapolis. So And she is absolutely amazing young woman. She's a junior at Augsburg University in Minneapolis, but she has been an achiever from when she was a little kid. But if she can't do it, I know we'll be able to get among the LCC International University's finest to join as assistant tour guide, because this is a good deal for them. And our tours have a good reputation there. So that's the other bit of news. The other good news is now I now have in my possession not only the trip deposits, but all of the disclosure statements. So I don't have to bug anybody anymore on that. So, all done. So we're in good shape there. So
So Rick, have you done this thing before? The
Yes.
same, the same course type thing, huh?
yeah, I've done it twice, and I put together the tour for 2013, excuse me, 2023. That I had another Prior Lake Rotarian member lead, because I felt it was important that these tours be looked upon by the Prior Lake Rotary Club as a club project, not just Rick Olson's thing, because it had been approved by the Prior Lake Rotary International Committee as one of their projects and so forth. But the perception wasn't what I wanted, so I had another member lead it. Unfortunately, I totally lost control of the finances in that process, so we didn't make as much money as we should have. And then the Prior Lake Rotary Club, without telling me or involving me, decided not to sponsor the tours any further. It was a little bit of a political, small peeve, intra-party politics going on there. And so that's why I'm now a member of Global Travelers rather than the Prior Lake Rotary. They are Prior Lake Rotary is an excellent club, except when it comes to governance. And I don't know if you know too much about the club, but Prior Lake Rotary has, for about 12, 13 years now, has put on Lakefront Music Fest. And over the last 4 or 5 years, they've made about $4 million net. So that enables them to do an awful lot, both locally and internationally. But I perceive the core membership that started that are really tight, and are a bit reluctant to let go of the levers of control. So anyway, so sometimes the success can also have a negative side in terms of a weakness. So,
Of course.
Bob, you need to go distribute candy.
I've been distributing it here and there.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so yes, I've done this before in 2019, 2020. We weren't able to do in 21, and then in 23, we weren't able to do it 21 and 22. Then in 23, we had another member do it. So this will be the 4th time we're doing this, and before I led it the first time, I was teaching at the LCC International University. I was teaching entrepreneurship and another class called economics and law. And before I left there, I took a plane ride down to Budapest, and by train from there to Bratislava, then to Vienna, and then to Prague, because I didn't feel I could say I'm going to lead a tour to someplace I've never been myself. So I went out. So I went out and checked the hotels out and things like that, and so that's my history, and then plus a lot of study of the area.
So Rick, just kind of walk us through briefly on a day-to-day basis. So we get on the tour bus, and then how often do we stop and what kind of generically happens on a day-to-day basis?
Basically, I encourage everybody to be up by 6:30, at breakfast at 7, on the bus at 7:30. And usually we are at the next destination before noon. Um, the bus, there's stops, for restroom stops, or sometimes a stop at a scenic site along the way. And there are also sometimes stops that the bus driver must take to meet the European Union labor regulations, bus driver regulations.
Mhm.
So sometimes those stops will be at gas stations, which many of them have really nice buffets. And during COVID, those kind of went away, but some of them have come back, and that's really handy. So everybody can grab something to eat if necessary or not. We do have then free days where we're not moving in Warsaw, Vienna, and then also Budapest, or beginning or end of a tour will be in Budapest with an extra day. And so on the days that involved Auschwitz, those are longer bus drives. And so we will have bag lunches. Actually, on 3 different days, we'll have bag lunches because with the size group we have in some of the towns, to try to get a restaurant, we'd be there for 2 hours. That's not a good use of time. So do their bathroom break and move on and get to our main destination where we want to be, so we can enjoy those sites. That's kind of how it goes. In Klaipėda, Lithuania, where the LCC International University is, that's where we will have the hands-on project. I've been communicating with the club members there. They've not yet selected what that project will be, so I don't have an update on that yet. But that's in the works.
And so the days normally end like about dinner time, etc. And
Well, what I have seen is the times that people on these tours enjoy the most tend to be dinners.
right.
I mean, you can enjoy the sights, but people enjoy the camaraderie of the dinners. But they're usually winding down by 8:30. Most people want to be in the hotel rooms, 9-ish or so they can get up and going the next day. On one of the tours, I had a little bit of difficulty with some people not getting on the bus, being ready to leave in the mornings, and so I had to be the bad guy and kind of chew them out a little bit without naming names, but everybody knew who I was talking about, because that was really stealing tourism time from everybody else. So we do need to be aware of other people's wants and needs as well. So on the bus, the times go by pretty fast because 2 things. Sometimes people just want a nap, but also I play the course on Eastern Europe by a university professor. It's a really, really good course. If some of you want to get a jump on that, if you go to the Great Courses series by the teaching company, that's available on that. It is an excellent course. And so by the time you've seen the things and you've heard the course, you will have a really good idea about Europe. I also do a couple lectures on the European Union and so forth. So we don't have to, so you know about that. I just got a notice that we're going to be done in 10 minutes. Anybody have any burning questions that are experiences that they want to share right now?
Hey,
No,
Rick, what was the name of the course that you just said with Great Courses you recommend?
Eastern Europe, something like another. If you go into the frequently asked questions on the site, there's a link to it there, from there. And another really good one, another book is also listed there. Bloodlands by Timothy Snyder. It's not a fun book to read, but it's very informative.
Can you send that info out just on a group email so that?
Sure,
we-
sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
Any other
Uh,
questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
This is Melanie. Would you suggest that we get trip insurance of any kind, for the flight, for the duration of the trip?
Well, I'll tell you my theory. I travel awfully enough that I'm willing to take the risk that cumulatively the potential of a disappointment, the cost of that, it would be less than the total number of premiums, amount of the premiums I would pay over the multiple trips, because insurance companies set their rates in a way that they'll make money. But if you don't travel very often, trip insurance might be important. It just depends on your financial situation. If you can suffer a hit. For me, I don't care. I'm willing to take the risk. Other people don't. So
You could also do an annual travel insurance if you travel a lot, which is much cheaper than individually.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just never bothered to do it.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, I actually teach people to travel the world, and I have a company called Global Gals. And I literally say that's the number one thing you have to get, because I've seen all the horror stories of when you don't have it. And one of the main reasons you want to get it is if something happens and you get hurt overseas for evacuation insurance, it could be $250,000. And I know people have literally, they went through their life savings because they don't have that kind of insurance. So trip insurance isn't just about delayed flights. That's important, but it's more than that. Like you get, something happens. My mom, we were just in Europe and she just fell, hurt her knee. But then you got to deal with other hospitals, other countries, dealing with paying up front. It's just a nightmare. So I just tell everybody to get it. And I use Allianz, ALLIANZ. I've had it for over 10 years. I get an annual policy, but you can just get a regular one too. So.
That's
Okay.
why I use as well as Alliance.
Okay, good information. I only bought travel insurance once. I bought the evacuation insurance for $28 when I went on a 19-day trek to the base camp of Mount Everest. And I ended up having to be evacuated from 16,000 feet by helicopter.
Hmm.
Well, it wasn't cheap. That's what happened to my friend. She was in Nepal too, and she had to be evacuated too. So not good.
Any
Rick,
other
I was
questions, comments?
Just quick, we're going through primarily Eastern Europe. Still, the euro is the currency throughout, so we just need the one currency for all the countries we're going through.
Not quite. It is the common currency for 5 of the countries we're going through, and in Helsinki if you end up there. But in Poland, Czech Republic, and Hungary, they have their own currency. What I will do is I will have a stash of those local currencies with me and willing to do some money exchanges, so everybody doesn't have to run to the ATM machines, but also credit cards work everywhere, and so that's really fine. Money should really not be an issue.
Okay.
Rick,
Rick? Oh, sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna go back to Melanie, who's gonna be in our baggage department of the van, that maybe I'm really worried about that. Because like you said, we could be overloaded with luggage. Can we just kind of say, bring a carry-on plus, because I had a carry-on piece that was small enough, and it was enough for me for 10 days.
Well, I'm going to encourage people, like say, to pack light, and people who do have small enough things, we could put them up above the seats. to minimize the amount that we would need in those back seats. There is a luggage compartment in the back of the bus, not the
Mhm.
4 seats. It's just not large enough for a group this size.
Right,
That's why
Yeah.
the 4 back seats is a good spillover place for luggage. And, you know, if we don't, you know, carry excessive amount of stuff, we should not have a problem. We may need to strap it together in some way, but it should not be a problem. I just told Melanie that I don't want anybody else disadvantaged because of the one more. And so we'll try it. If you're willing to take the risk, we'll try it. But if everybody can pack light, we should be good.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments before our
Do
time
you
is
have
up?
like, will you have like potable water in terms of like those water bottles on the van for throughout the trip so that you have some,
I don't have any extras. People should plan for their own water bottle or buy bottled water at a gas station or whatever we stop and just have that available.
fair enough.
People can take care of themselves.
That's right.
Rick, if I could just ask, in a recent trip this past summer to the UK and Scotland is part of the UK. I used almost exclusively Apple Pay, and it worked like a charm. I used no cash. I had no pounds sterling throughout the whole trip. What was, have you used Apple Pay? What is your experience with that in Central Eastern Europe?
I've not used that. I've just used cash and credit card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Melanie, my experience has been that they'll do the Apple Pay. I've got the credit card on my watch. I've used that extensively throughout England and just recently in Greece. So I think almost any place that takes a credit card is going to be able to do the Apple Pay.
Okay. I mean, it's a plus because they do not charge for an exchange rate with Apple Pay. And so I found it to be a good advantage.
So I ended up getting a US bank card that doesn't have any exchange rate fees. And the exchange rate was very good in my trip to Spain. But last year I wasn't so fortunate. I had them use a different credit card, and the transaction fees ended up being excessive.
Mhm.
Lesson learned.
Mhm.
What credit card, Rick? Just might as well get the information, right?
Yeah, it is the US Bank Altitude Go. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Visa. So,
Hey, Melanie, usually I have some different ones, and usually if you get any like credit card that's linked to a hotel or airline, American Express, those usually do. There's several different brands you can get, but usually if they're linked to a travel company, those are the best ones.
I will say I've had more trouble using Amex internationally than I ever could have
Always.
thought would have been a problem. I mean,
Yeah, agreed. I just got back from Spain and Portugal and Morocco, and yeah, nobody would take American Express, so there, so.
They wouldn't. They would.
anything else quick?
Are we gonna do this thing again? I mean, between now and May, June is quite a
Yep,
long
yep.
time.
We'll do another in a couple of months, and then shortly before the trip. And so, but if anybody has any questions in the meantime, just feel free to email, call me, whatever. And if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up.
well, thank you for all your time and putting this together for us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a labor of love for me because